Good afternoon, everybody. What's happening, everybody? There is some breaking news at this hour. Make sure. Let's see. I'm going to try to pull it up real quick. Apparently, there's an ongoing school shooting right now. We're gonna throw it to Fox News, who has somebody live on the ground there. We'll give you all the updates on that as it comes in. Let's see here. See if I can pull this up real quick. Apparently there is a... Give me 1 second here, because nothing ever happens quickly here. Once again, guys, my name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live here on Monday, December 16th, 2024. Breaking at this hour. Let's throw it. Here's Fox News.
Students, teachers, everybody is initially considered a suspect. You leave your backpacks, you leave everything, and when they get you out of the school, you go one by one with your hands up as you come out. And I'm wondering, at this point, Jonathan, if we know anything about police being inside the school, or are they setting up a perimeter, or are we learning anything about the actual police process here?
Nothing actually confirmed, Trace, but talking of watching these things over 30 years and seeing how police training in these instances has evolved over the last few decades, the standard practice here would be to get inside that school as quickly as possible, if indeed the shooting was happening inside the school rather than just outside. At the moment, we don't even know that for sure, but if it was happening inside the classroom or any other parts of that building, the standard operating procedure would be to get in there as quickly as they can. You talk about what we're seeing on screen as well, Trace, and I think it is worth noting. Now, we're obviously not seeing every angle here. The media is being staged at one particular point, but what I haven't seen any pictures of are SWAT teams, active SWAT teams going into the building right now. That might indicate that they do believe the situation is under control. That doesn't necessarily tell us whether or not, as one reporter said, the shooter is down, but you're not seeing the sort of intense activity that we might be seeing if they were at this moment in time trying to find that shooter. It's obviously, again, I want to emphasize here, we're only seeing a couple of camera angles, but that's an impression I get, Trace, as we watch these things and from, the experience that we've had over so many of these tragic incidents.
Jonathan, we'll get back to you as you get more information. We're also waiting that police update. Should be happening hopefully about 8 or 9 minutes from now. We'll get more information. Thank you, Jonathan. Let's bring in Fox News contributor and former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker. Nicole, just horrific to learn of yet another school shooting. We're still waiting on details here. We know this happened at Abundant Life Christian School, although we're told that it is a non-denominational K-12 school. The Madison Police Department's giving an update shortly, but multiple injuries have been reported, according to Madison Police. This remains an active and ongoing investigation, and we're waiting to hear more about the status of the shooter. Nicole.
And here we are again, and I hate that we're having to report this again. And my heart goes out to the school, to the students, to the staff, and I am praying for the best outcome possible. There is not a lot of information out there right now, but again, having responded to, for instance, the Parkland school shooting, it is an all hands on deck situation. And the first priority is to potentially take that individual and neutralize the threat. And I understand that other networks have said that the shooter is down. Until that is a factual piece of information reported by law enforcement, they're going to treat as if they have to keep all of these students safe. The first priority is potentially stopping potential killing and then stopping potential dying. So if this person is down and there was one individual involved and the threat has been neutralized, the next thing that they're going to be doing is they're going to be rendering aid to those that may have been injured. And that is very, very important. Those that are in that school, if there are individuals that were shot, they could potentially bleed out. The key is to render medical aid as soon as possible. And eventually, eventually, when the school has been cleared, everything has been swept, there is no longer a potential threat, they are going to eventually bring those students out of the school. Like you guys had mentioned, they're going to be coming out of that school with their arms up, proving that they are not the individual who's the shooter. In the Parkland school shooting, for instance, the shooter actually came out of the school with all of the other students. He dropped the weapon and he came out of the school as if he was a victim. So that's why law enforcement is very, very careful to determine, has the shooter been eliminated? Has the threat been eliminated? And if not, they are going to continue to, number one, keep these children safe, get them out of harm's way, while additionally conducting investigations into identifying who the shooter was.
And it's important to point out, Nicole, as well, you're exactly right. Most of these cases, most of school shootings are with one shooter, except you go back to Columbine when you had two. But by and large, the vast majority of school shootings in this country are by one shooter. And so when you hear reports from different affiliates in the area saying that the shooter is down, that would kind of dictate the police posture. And as Jonathan was pointing out here, it appears to me, and we've seen a lot of this, it appears as you see people walking around the school here, you can see some police officers and first responders. The police posture appears to be, to me, Nicole, a little bit more relaxed than it was about 25 minutes ago, meaning that they probably do believe that the threat has diminished, at least to some capacity. What do you think, Nicole?
Trace, I agree with you. To a certain extent, I do agree with you, but I can tell you that there are different levels of involvement with law enforcement. Those that are inside the school, I'm sure that they are not looking as calm, cool, and collected as those that are maybe outside of the school. Obviously, there are multiple levels. There's going to be a perimeter set up on the outside, and their job is to keep people away. It's important for viewers. As someone who's tuning into television right now, when you're saying my child goes there, the initial reaction is panic, and you want to make sure that your child is safe, understandably so. But it's so important that they do have that perimeter set up, and that is for safety reasons. They need people to stay out of the area and to allow law enforcement to do their job. And more importantly, to allow medical aid to get into that school if necessary. If there's injured individuals, that is extremely important right now. But yeah, there are multiple layers involved. Those that are inside the school that are dealing with, the suspect at hand, hopefully. Like I said, if the suspect is down, if the suspect is in custody, too soon to tell that information, but the key is to stay calm. One thing in this modern day, most of those students have cell phones, and they are likely calling their parents. I'm sure that the alert came out notifying parents that there was an active shooter at the school. And so that communication is very, very important. But again, right now, the number one priority is the safety of the students.
Right.
Correct. And looking at these, we have 3 different live shots where we keep watching the perimeter of the building and the streets around it. They've obviously closed down the streets around the building, but not seeing a lot of activity. We're not getting word on if they're in complete lockdown still, but one would imagine, Nicole. So those are the sort of details we're waiting on right now. But perhaps the lack of, emergency vehicles driving around on the scene right now could lend to perhaps that the shooter may be down. Again, there are some reports. We have not independently confirmed that yet. But would we see different activity if this suspect was on the run, Nicole?
Absolutely. And like I said, if he's on the run, there's going to be a press conference, I believe that they said in around 12 minutes. That's a very good indication. And that is so important because
we're going to throw it back to Fox News in a minute. The update on this at the moment, Colin Rugg is reporting that at least 2 are dead after a gunman opened fire at the Abundant Life Christian School in Wisconsin, according to the Daily Mail. The gunman has reportedly killed himself, or themselves. I'm rolling the dice here. It's probably a guy. Women tend not to do this sort of thing. This remains an active and ongoing investigation. More information will be released as it is available. We currently need people to avoid the area, say the Madison, Wisconsin Police Department. At least 3 others have been injured. So that's the report we're getting at the moment from the Daily Mail. Right now, they're a shooting at a K-12 school in Madison, Wisconsin. Once again, we'll bring you guys the updates on that as they come in. We're getting reports right now from the Daily Mail that that 2 2 are dead. We don't know if one of those two is the gunman, but that is what we're getting so far. We'll keep you guys in the loop on any of that as it comes up. But once again, guys, hello, Kevin Smith here, Loud Majority Live here on LFA TV. I want to welcome everybody in wherever you're watching from. If you're watching on Rumble, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Hit that follow button right at the very bottom of the screen. If you're watching on Facebook, do me a favor, hit that @ button. Hit the @ button. Boom. Make sure you hit that and tag a friend in the chat. We're going to have a little bit of fun today. Last night was, if you're watching on X, do me a favor, please repost the video. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Marissa Walls. How's it going? Make sure you guys, once again, share the video out. Do me that favor. Do me that favor. Bingo, bango. Let's say hello to everybody. Oh, where's my chat? So last night was the yearly New York City Young Republican Gala. I'm on the board of advisors of the New York City Young Republicans. It is a star-studded event. Everybody who is anybody is there. I got to see so many of my so many amazing friends. Matt Gaetz and his wife Ginger and Steve Bannon, Raheem Kassam, Jack Posobiec. So many. The list goes on and on and on and on. It was absolutely an incredible evening last night. So we're going to talk about what happened there. Obviously, some of you saw what happened there. I'm not going to get into too much detail about it because I don't really have all the details. As many of you saw, if you're on X, Alex Brusewitz collapsed while he was giving a speech in some kind of a medical episode. From what I am told, Alex is fine. He got checked out, and he's all good. I know a lot of people were asking me about that. So that was a pretty scary moment. But, it happens. Sometimes it happens, and obviously all the messages I received for Alex about Alex didn't go unnoticed. So I do want to thank all of you. For that. One other bit that happened at the New York City Young Republican Gala yesterday, which I was not made aware of until the day of. I got an award. I received the Nelson A. Rockefeller Award. Nelson Rockefeller, obviously, former Vice President of the United States under Gerald Ford. Here that was. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome.
On behalf of the New York Young Republican Club, I am honored to present the Nelson A. Rockefeller Award to Kevin W. Smith.
So that was pretty cool. I didn't know that was going to be happening. Just a big shout out to everybody over there at the club, Gavin Wax and Alex Zeke and Brett for putting on a phenomenal gala as always. If you guys are ever in the area and towards the end of the year and you can make it to the New York Young Republican Gala, it is a star-studded event that you guys absolutely do not want to miss. Every year we have a good time. If you're in New York and you want to check out a Young Republican event, we do them pretty much. We do them a couple times a month. There's always stuff going on here in New York. It was really awesome. It was a great surprise too. It was a great surprise. So I want to thank everybody for that. It was a lot of fun. Let's you know what? While we're at it, let's pop up some of the pictures. So you guys, obviously all of you know me as the guy in the t-shirt, but sometimes we clean up a little bit. Here's our boy Stefano Forte. You guys, if you guys are from New York, you know Steph. Here he is. Boom. Look at us looking all handsome. That was a good one. For some reason, I look very grouchy in that photograph. I don't really know why, but that was a good one. There we go. Look at that. Looking hand. There we go. Michael Zabriskie, the man who probably most responsible for what Donald Trump did in New York. That's on the left, along with Terry Schilling right there. That was a good time. Boom, Gavin Wax and Alex Zeke, two of the heads of the New York City Young Republican Club, and my short ass. So that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last night. Once again, for everybody who messaged me about Alex Brusewitz, from what I know, he's doing fine. So thank you all for the messages and for the prayers. It was some pretty scary stuff last night for everybody who watched. So it was eventful, to say the least. To say the least, it was definitely eventful. But let us go back to. I think there's going to be a press conference in a couple minutes regarding the shooting in Wisconsin. Let's throw it back. Fox is live on the ground.
Or if this is just random traffic, it's unclear. But if you talk as the zones, cold, hot, warm, what is your take on the view you're seeing now? Are you surprised that we're not seeing any students being taken out of the building at all? Does it give you some inclination that maybe the shooting happened outside of the school building?
Well, it's hard to say if, based on the vantage point that I have, I can't tell you if it happened inside or outside of the school, but I can tell you we're looking at the cold zone, and this is the area that you're not as susceptible to gunfire. But another thing that I should have brought up earlier, in terms of we have two strategies when dealing with school shootings. We can either shelter in place or evacuate. That decision is determined based on the ability for the shooter to connect with a target-rich environment, which would be the students. If the students have the ability to evacuate and not be harmed, by all means, the evacuation strategy would be employed. However, if that is not the option, the students would be best suited to shelter in place, because in a school, you have the ability to lock doors, you have steel doors, you have an amalgamation of different assets that can be used to protect the students. So this appears as if the students have been sheltered in place and they didn't evacuate.
Okay, so we're still waiting on this update right now, but there is a local hospital. There are various reports of parents running in. Again, we do not have firm details. We're waiting on police to confirm the events of this morning. It was local time. This would have happened in the morning there, Madison, Wisconsin. And the reunification process, we are told, is playing out. But it's been some time, Darren, since we've gotten an update from police. You can imagine they're getting their details and facts together to update the public. That's quite a process as well. But certainly what the community is waiting on right now is any word on the shooter. We just have reports that the shooter's down, but we have not heard that directly from police yet.
Right. We want answers as the public, whether it's the parents, whether it's the law enforcement, or just the surrounding community. But at the same token, it's incumbent upon police to introduce the appropriate information and not fragments of information, so to speak, because oftentimes fragmented information can cause a greater concern. So I think police are focused on extracting as much information as possible to present in this press conference so we can feel a lot more comfortable. But just based on the vantage point that I'm at, I believe that the shooter has been neutralized, and police are still looking to extract that information to get out to us as the public.
Yeah, and just for some clarification, Darren, before we go forward, I want to kind of we're getting some information now about the layout of this. I mean, this is a 28-acre campus, and there is also a child care center that's attached to this. So police are sending out information saying you not only have K through 12 grades here, but you also have infants up to infants and 4-year-olds in that range as well, in a separate part of the school area, but on the very same campus. So we don't know if that plays into the 390 students they're talking about. But it's an interesting facet of this whole thing, because you're not just talking about one school. In essence, you have 3 kind of schools, a daycare and 2 schools in this same area. And does that make it trickier? Because you want to make sure, Darren, as you go in there, that you cover every nook and cranny, every place that anybody could hide has to be gone through. This is fine-tooth comb stuff at the highest level. And when you're talking about a couple of different facilities, it gets a little bit more complicated.
That's correct. Police are going to conduct what we refer to as a grid search in terms of how they go through that campus in its entirety. The more property that you have to conduct a search for, the more challenging it becomes. This police department in particular is not a small police department. They police a population of roughly 290. Okay.
Looks like we're about to get an update from the police here. There's a microphone assembled, and let's listen, see if we can pick it up here.
And I say thank you for coming and talk about how important the media is to our community. But the truth is, today is a sad, sad day, not only for Madison, but for our entire country, where yet another police chief is doing a press conference to speak about violence in our community, specifically in one of the places that's most sacred to me as someone who loves education and to someone who has children that are in schools. So I'm gonna tell you what I know. I'll answer any questions that I can. There'll be a secondary briefing that our PIO will let you know about, okay? Today, around 10:57 a.m., our officers were responding to a call of an active shooter at the Abundant Life Christian School here in Madison. When officers arrived, they found multiple victims suffering from gunshot wounds. We train on this almost quarterly. The last time we trained on this as commanders was approximately 2 weeks ago. The protocols are simple. Stop the killing, stop the dying, find out who's doing this. And the officers did that, and they did that adamantly. We had officers from around the county and around the state that came in support of this particular incident. Officers located a juvenile who they believe was responsible for this deceased in the building. Additionally, the officers began administering life-saving efforts to anyone who was wounded and making sure that those persons were transported. What we know is that a total of about 7 persons were transported from this scene to area hospitals for treatment. We know that at least 3 people have lost their lives, including a juvenile person. I don't have any other information about those persons who have lost their lives, and I'm not going to release that until we have, of course, spoken with family members and ensuring that they are fully aware of this tragic, tragic scene that occurred today. I want to thank all of the law enforcement partners and community members that came out to help, our friends at the ATF. I've gotten calls from my friends at the FBI, the State Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, Monona Police Department, our fire department. It goes on and on and on. Because this is something that we all prepare for, but we hope we never have to do. As you can see, we have a unification center that was immediately set up where parents and guardians and loved ones and grandparents wanted to get information about their loved ones, and we wanted to make sure that they were unified immediately. So we were doing more than one thing at one time. We're still going through methodically clearing that school, clearing every vehicle, and making certain that there's no other threats to this community, which we believe there are none. We immediately alerted our mayor's office, and I've been on the phone with her and her office constantly. We also alerted Madison schools. We put the schools on lockdown, but there's no threats to the MMSD schools at this time. But we wanted to make sure that we did our due diligence in this particular case. Again, we're still going through collecting evidence, collecting information, making sure that our community is safe from what is a sad day for our community and for our country. And we have to do a little bit better. I don't have all the answers that you want right now, but I will tell you this. We have some of the best officers in the entire country. Our detectives are amazing. We're going to go and work hard and go through this scene so that we can piece together what exactly happened. Again, there'll be another briefing in about 2 hours, and if I have additional information, I will certainly let you know what that information is. Again, around 10:57 a.m., officers responded to an active shooter. They responded per our protocol. They found the person who they believe was responsible, who was down, deceased. We know that it's juvenile. We know that there are other persons who have lost their lives. We know that we've transported about 7 people after giving them life-saving measures. It's important to notice, too, that about 3 miles from here is our training center. Today, our special event team medics were in training. And so they got to practice in real time. They left the training center immediately and came down here and doing in real time what they were actually practicing for. And that's why training is so important, and making sure that we can provide the best possible training and the best possible response for our community members. I'm asking everyone to send your heartfelt wishes and prayers and thoughts yet again to a community, but this time it's my community. Dylan?
Yeah, can we start over here with questions?
Chief, you mentioned you're a father, you're the police chief here in Madison. What emotions are you feeling right now after going through all that?
To be honest with you, I'm feeling a little dismayed now. So close to Christmas. Every child, every person in that building is a victim and will be a victim forever. And these types of trauma don't just go away. And we need to figure out and try to piece together what exactly happened. And right now, my heart is heavy for my community. My heart is heavy for Madison, and we have to come together as a community and figure out what happened here and make sure that it doesn't happen in any other place that should be a refuge for students in our community.
Right there.
What sort of gun-related policies, if any, were in place at the school, and did the school have metal detectors?
I'm not aware that the school had metal detectors, nor should schools have metal detectors. It's a school, it's a safe space. So I don't know. Again, it is a private Christian school. It is not under the authority of MMSDs, and that is something that we'll have to look into.
Chief, of the 7 victims, how many are students? How many are teachers?
I'm not going to give any information about who the victims are, whether they're student, staff, or parents, because we need to make sure that we can notify people. I think that's the most important thing before we go any further.
But police didn't. They never fired their weapons.
That is correct.
Correct.
Let's follow that one question.
I don't know if it's a male or a female, but the police department did not fire their weapons. Thank you.
Scott.
Are the 3 fatalities you mentioned including the suspected shooter?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
3 total.
That's correct.
Are the 7 that was transported, are the 3 fatalities within that 7 or addition to that?
Yes, within that 7. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Was the shooter a student at the school?
We believe the shooter was a student at the school. Yes.
What can you tell us about the status of the other transports?
We know that they range from minor injuries to life-threatening. I know that's a huge, spectrum, but that's what we know now. And so we need everyone, again, to send your thoughts and your prayers out to them. One thing I do know is that we have some of the best medical care in the country here in Madison. And so we hope that everyone will recover. But at this time, we don't know.
So we did just get an update from our command post. 5 deceased at this time, 5 injured. So a total of 10.
You know what kind of gun was used?
Again, this is a ever evolving situation. Just hearing that, what does that make you think? How does that make you feel? That we have to do a better job in our community on a Monday, right? So close to Christmas, that we're updating victims. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done, and we're committed to doing that work. We just ask for your patience. I think the most important part is the reunification, again, that we spoke about, making sure that those persons who were in the schools, whether they're staff, students, or what have you, are reunified, and we have done that. Again, I want to say thank you to all our partners. Again, our friends are here from the ATF. They're going to help us. I heard the question about the gun. I don't know yet, which is why we have a great partnership with the ATF that will help us determine the origin of this gun and where it happened. So I'm going to leave it at that, and we will have another press conference. Stephanie has the location.
We're doing 2:30 at Fire Station 14 in their community room. 2:30, Fire Station 14.
Steph, Can you confirm the 5 who are dead? Does that include the shooter?
That doesn't include
It would,
Are the
yes.
victims
it would.
students, teachers, a mix?
Yeah, again, we're not going to talk about that until we notify all the families that may be involved. Again, this is an ever evolving situation, and we're trying to figure it out. What did you say, man?
Has the school been cleared? Are all the students out of the school?
The school has been through a secondary clearing. We're doing another one now with the help of bomb dogs, just in case. We want to clear vehicles and things of that nature. So we're going to take our time, and we're going to go through and we're going to do everything that we can. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Okay?
Thank you.
Fire Station 14 in the community room.
Are the students still in the school?
Our heart breaks for that community. As the police chief said, sad day for Madison, a sad day for the country. Trace, to get an update in real time, the number moved to 5. 5 people lost their lives today. In that number, including the shooter, identified as a juvenile, and a student at that school. 7 transported to the area hospital. The 5 dead is included in that number. We await another update about an hour from now. Shooting happened 10:57 a.m. Officers responded to the scene. Multiple gunshot victims, as we now know how that ended. He talked a lot about the preparation, Trace, that their police teams have been. They were in current police training, medic training, for a shooting like this, a multiple shooting, a school shooting like this. Stop the killing, stop the dying, find out who is doing this. Our heart breaks, as the chief said. His heart is heavy. He's also a father in that community, Trace.
Yeah, and the numbers change. As you saw, the PIO came out and gave the final numbers, which is, to this point, 5 deceased, 5 injured. We assume the 5 were taken to a hospital. If there's any bright spot in all of this, there are 2 level 1 trauma centers within just a few miles of that campus. And so we have learned over the years that if you have school shootings, that these people who are taken to level 1 trauma centers very quickly, for the most part, they tend to survive these shootings. It was interesting because the police chief pointed out very clearly there that the police came in and found the shooter dead, indicating that this was likely a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But again, they won't tell us any kind of breakdown. He's not giving any kind of information on who exactly was injured and who exactly was killed until all of these families are notified. You can tell, and they've given us information about the Unification Center. Parents are being told to go to a certain area, and then the students will be released. And the police chief made it very clear that they're going to go through very methodically. They're doing a couple of different checks. They're bringing the bomb dogs out. They're going to go to the cars. We don't know how old this juvenile was. If this juvenile was able to drive, that car would be a huge focus point of what's going on there. But they're going to go through all of the cars, all of the rooms, the attic space, the storage rooms, you name it. They will go through inch by inch, foot by foot before they clear this area, Sandra. And it's interesting that we have come to a point where we have covered so many of these things over the years that the protocols have all become kind of on the same page. And you saw the sheriff kind of reiterate that this is the way it's done. They go in. In this case, they went in and they found the shooter had already been neutralized. He was dead. And, you go through and you look at the police perimeter here and the posture, as we were saying earlier, that they believe that this thing is over, but they are double and triple checking to make sure.
All right. Bill Daley is joining us now, former FBI investigator. Bill, our hearts break for this school, for that community. 5 people, including the shooter, dead. 4 of them, we don't know the ages of those who have passed away in this. We're still waiting on an update of 2 others that were sent to the hospital. But what an incredibly sad morning this was. And again, this is not, it's 5 dead. The shooter was included in that number. Bill, your thoughts?
Yeah, certainly, Sandra, another tragic day here in America and America's schools. As we're thinking through this ordeal that's just occurred, certainly one of the things that jumps out to me is that it certainly sounds as though the police were well prepared. The chief of police just said it was only about 2 weeks ago they actually went through an active shooter training And as we know that, that type of training, that type of coordination, the type of command and control that's needed in these type of events is something that really many times saves lives. In this case, we're not too sure, and as Trace indicated, the chief had said that the shooter was neutralized or already deceased when they arrived. We don't know whether that was at his or her own hands, or whether there was someone else in the school. We don't know if there was a school resource officer, or whether someone else in the school took it upon themselves. That will all come out to us. The other thing that unfortunately kind of jumps off the page at us as we look at these school shootings, and it is somewhat reminiscent of the shooting took place last September at the Covenant School in Tennessee, where it's not just public schools that suffer these horrific incidents, but it's also private schools. And private schools sometimes, that have a limited number of students and maybe a selective number of students that attend. So it's not immune to any place. That's why training, both not just by police, but by school officials and students, to know what to do when one of these incidents occurs is kind of key in those first few minutes.
It's interesting also, Bill, when you look at, as you talked about, private schools versus public schools, the chief was asked, are there metal detectors going into the school? And he said, no, there are not, nor should there be, because it's a safe space. Clearly today it was not a safe space. But you look at the difference between some of these private schools and the ones that we have covered over the years, Bill, almost to a school, they don't have security. They don't have the school resource officers. They don't have a lot of these things because there's, if you look at going back and the studies that have been done, most, except for in Tennessee, most of these shootings are done at public schools. It's interesting the dynamic you see there, Bill, that they have decided, and this chief has decided, these schools should not have metal detectors.
Yeah, and from a security standpoint, there's different schools of thought. No, certainly not using that term loosely, but there's certain views on what you should do as far as security. There are schools even in my area here in New York who just today announced that they were putting metal detectors in the school. So there are different thoughts on it. Having also both from my FBI, but also from my security background, I can tell you is that in some instances those do play a role. In those locations where you need to make sure that people coming in are not carrying any type of weapon, whether it's a gun or a knife or anything else that could be used. So, there's some thoughts on that. Don't want to kind of go back and kind of diagnose that situation right now. But I would say is that the school security, kind of what we saw down in Uvalde where a door was open, there are sometimes cases where people come from the outside. This was someone from, according to the chief, there was a student, someone who should have been there, someone who perhaps people knew and welcomed this morning coming into school. So the big question is, how did this individual, if it is a juvenile, have access to weapons? And unfortunately, that's what we've seen in many of these school shootings, Trace, is that children, youths, people who should not have access to weapons, get them either through parental gifts to them. We've seen that in the case was just early this year in Georgia, but in other cases where people get them from the home and bring them to school. So there may be at the end of this, as the investigation will continue, is there could be some type of I'll call it a kind of a trail of breadcrumbs. There could be some leakage, as some of the professionals in threat evaluation call it, where there could have been an indication that perhaps this individual may have had some type of issues out there and could have discerned maybe more watching, but we don't know yet. However, it is an access to weapons that really is the issue at the end of the day.
Bill, thank you very much. Looks like we are getting a statement from the FBI. Bill, if you could stand by with us, Fox News contributor and former NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow is now joining us. Getting into my inbox right now, Paul, I'll make sure I get this to you. Let's see. FBI Milwaukee's on the scene assisting local law enforcement officials at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin, following an active shooter incident. We will update with further information once it is available. We were also told that the president president was briefed on this shooting as well. Paul, first, your thoughts on the details we know so far for anybody just tuning in. This is Madison, Wisconsin, a private school of just under 400, K through 12. 7 people transported to area hospitals. As we learned just a moment ago, 5 people, including the shooter, are dead. Paul?
I mean, what can you say? You know, it's this story again. And all we can do is pray for the people who have gone to the hospital. But, you know, to echo Bill's thoughts, it can happen anywhere. It's become very much a fact of life here in America at the school level. And there's certain things here that really do jump out at you. Private school and a juvenile, right? It's a lower, it's not a high school or a college, I should say. University, it's at a younger level school. And it just really does show that, you know, it's going to be a fact of life to have school resources officers, to have metal detectors, to have response protocols. Speaking for police, local police, you have to understand now that responding to a potential school shooter is basic part of your mandate and of your professional responsibilities.
Yeah, it really is, Bill. And you look at these things, and as the chief was just telling us moments ago, police went in. I mean, look, there was no hesitation. They heard of a shooter. The word came down. They got on scene and they went in and they found this shooter was neutralized, either by a self-inflicted gunshot wound, maybe by some other means. We don't know. We don't know what that could be because they say there was only one shooter as far as they know. But you kind of wonder if these things play out kind of the same way, Paul, because you have, going back from Columbine, we have learned so much about the mindset of these kids. And to a student, there is something, some red flag, there is something in their background that was either ignored or let slip by, and that's going to be a big part of this investigation.
No question. And where you're going with that, Griff, is the internet. And that's the thing that I think is really developed in the modern era relative to these kids who get isolated, radicalized, that's the only word for it, who ultimately get access to a firearm. And somehow or other, this begins to make sense. If you look at the commonalities among school shooters, it almost always comes down to the fact that they got into some sort of echo chamber online. They became part of a group that felt this was a good idea, and really comes down to who's in the best position to try to interdict this stuff. You know, by the time the police are involved, it's too late. While I said that the cops these days have to have this as a basic part of their remit, and that holds, what it really comes down to is your home life. And parents, relatives, peers, those are the ones who really...
Alrighty, guys, we will bring you any updates on this. Obviously, a tragic day in Madison, Wisconsin. 4 victims have been killed, according to reports, including a fifth death, which is the gunman. 5 transported to local hospitals. We'll bring you any updates on this as it comes out. But guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. I want to say hello to everybody. Obviously, sad news today. We had a lot planned for the show, but breaking news happens. When it happens, it comes on in. Hello, Diane. Hello, Marissa. AC Knight. What's up, Mike Mack? How we doing? How are we doing? Let's keep moving and grooving here because there is a lot more that I wanted to get to. Obviously, breaking news over the weekend is that George Stephanopoulos and ABC have got to pay out $15 million in settling a defamation suit against President Trump. We'll bring that to you in just 1 second. Before we do that,
the biggest benefit, honestly, has been with my skin. Skin was more hydrated, more radiant.
This is the best superfood that you could take.
It has all the essential nutrients you need for your skin, your gut, energy, focus, mood, performance.
My hair has gotten so much thicker ever since taking this.
I used to have a probiotic, a green juice that replaced it all with this Arma colostrum. It is amazing.
You gotta take it.
If you want to try it, try arma.com.
Let's face it, guys. You guys are not getting all of the nutrients you need every single day, which is why you need to try Armor Colostrum over at tryarmor.com/LFATV. That's tryarmor.com/LFATV. Start feeling better today, guys. 1 scoop in the morning. Boom. That's all you need. Look, you're not getting all the good stuff you need. You're not. You're not eating right. You're not doing that. So the best way to supplement that is with tryarmor.com. That's tryarmor.com. So the media continues to be in free fall as they are actually beginning to face some accountability for just making things up about President Trump. As I said, George Stephanopoulos and ABC News will have to donate $15 million to the Donald Trump Presidential Library, which is unbelievable for saying that the president was found guilty of rape, which, of course, he was not. Now, some people are very, very upset about this. Notably, obviously, when it comes to the worst takes imaginable, we have got to check in on our friends over at CNN.
Just not the case. But I just feel, and I wonder how you feel about that aspect of all of this. I mean, to me, it seems this is a time for our industry to stand firm. And we're going to have a very important job to do. And that's not putting us on a pedestal or anything like that, but we're going to have a very important job to do because Trump is not going to change his ways when he gets back in the Oval Office. He's going to continue to say things that need to be fact-checked. And you can't have the news industry worrying about this sort of stuff when they're just simply doing their jobs.
Well, if some bend the knee, others have to stand up straighter. You know, the former Time magazine editor Richard Stengel said this morning, Trump has sued dozens of publications and media outlets in the past, trying to, quote, intimidate the press into self-censorship, not to actually win any particular case. He did win in this case with a big payment, but that broader concern about self-censorship is one that I know many viewers and readers are worried about. And ultimately, Jim, as you know, we work for them. We work for the viewers, not for anybody else.
That's right. All right, Brian Stelter, thank you very much.
A few things about that. First off, I don't know what Brian Stelter knows about standing up straight, but Brian, you don't work for us. You work for the big pharmaceutical companies who run ads on your network. That's who you work for. Brian Stelter, the man who I gotta be. There is no way in hell I would ever go back to working at a network that had fired me. But Brian Stelter, he doesn't have any real friends, and is stuck begging for love from the viewers. So George Stephanopoulos and ABC, actually George Stephanopoulos has to pay out $1 million of the settlement from his own money in order to pay Donald Trump's lawyers. This could be a watershed moment in the idea of maybe the media is starting to be held accountable for just making things up. As Jim Acosta says, I'm not putting myself up on a pedestal. I'm just talking about how important I am. Jim, no one watches your show, bro. Nobody watches it. Nobody watches it anymore, and it's because of crap like this. Leslie Stahl, for her part, she is confused at the death of the mainstream media. She has no idea why it could be. I mean, she's been in the media for so long that she actually has seen the downsizing and the decrease in trust in the media, but she can't figure out at all why.
But they're fraying. Almost everything you said is fraying. The press
fraying, you're saying.
Fraying.
Yeah, totally. And has been
and as I said,
for 20 years.
Well,
I mean,
the press for 20
nothing's going to stop you from being the free press.
Well, you really are a sunny person, aren't you?
Sunny.
Well, I'm very worried about the press, extremely worried about the press.
Not only for the technological reasons we're all worried about, and not only for the financial tectonic plates moving, but for some other reason. What one?
Well, for example, I once asked Donald Trump, why do you keep pounding on the press? This was right after he won in 2016. You know, it's kind of boring. You say the same thing over and over, and you won. You know, it's time to drop it. Why do you do it? And he said, I do it and I repeat it because the more I do that, the less people are going to believe you when you say negative things about me and whatever else.
Totally.
And it's happened. If you watch the opinion of us, how many people trust the press anymore? I mean, we're way down there with the lawyers.
Yeah.
This is really rough, as you know.
You're way down there with Congress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're way down there with Congress, but we're way down there. And I despair seriously, I worry greatly, and I think there are other institutions that have been suffering. And you're right not to blame Donald Trump 100%, obviously, started many years before, but we're at a point where if the President of the United States is going to say legacy media is dead, well, I guess Musk said that, legacy media is dead.
And he wants it dead. He wants other media.
But it is kind of, sort of, hobbling right now. And I don't know how it recovers. I'm very dark about it.
You're very dark about it.
I am.
I just, well, this is, we're talking about something so essential that you don't want to say, well, we'll see, or maybe the world will end, we'll see.
Well.
But if America lost freedom of the press, it would be, and freedom of speech, it would be the beginning of losing everything.
Right. I totally agree.
I don't know why. Why would nobody trust them? It's the weirdest thing. It's almost like Leslie Stahl isn't the woman who actually went on television and said that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real and that there was no proof that they spied on President Trump's campaign. But there are some people in the media who are starting to figure out. There are some people in the media starting to figure out that maybe, just maybe, when Donald Trump says something, he's not lying about it. Before we get to that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Make sure you check out the LFA-TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over to lfatv.us. That's the only way we can do the sort of on-the-ground reporting that we are trying to do over the course of the next several months. We can't do it without your help. And we really always do appreciate the support. So head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. So, as I said, some people in the media, mostly those who are outside of the legacy journalism world, the legacy political journalism world, some people are starting to figure it out. And one person is someone I've been a fan of since I was a kid, and of course, that would be Stephen A. Smith.
The news comes amidst a bombshell report from the Justice Department that revealed the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground when the Capitol was stormed on January 6, 2021. The report says most of the informants engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. The Justice Department says only 3 of its 26 informants present had been instructed to observe potential domestic terrorist suspects on the day of the riot. The rest of the 23 appeared to have gone to the Capitol on their own accord. Upon hearing news of the report, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance posted the following on X, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago," end quote. Didn't hear anything about that for the election. Didn't hear anything about that when the quote-unquote insurrection was broached by Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. The belief that Donald Trump was a danger to democracy and using this as a profound, illuminating bullet point to make that case. And now here we are yet again finding even more evidence to Donald Trump's claims when he articulated that the process is rigged. My big issue is that I'm really, really sick and tired of every time I turn around finding something else that the Democrats have lied about or downplayed or misrepresented along the way. I mean, I see Republicans like Megyn Kelly or Officer Tatum or Candace Owens or, the Sean Hannitys of the world. You know what I'm getting tired of? To the Democratic Party, you know what I'm getting really pissed off about? I'm getting really ticked off at every time they open their mouth about something pertaining to y'all, they seem right to make the case that the right had a monopoly on insidious, evil tendencies, corrupt tendencies, duplicitous, hypocritical, untruthful tendencies. And every time they made those accusations, we turn around and find out that at least some of them are guilty of the same shit. I don't know about y'all, but I'm sick of all of it. I'm sick of all of it. They've actually made Donald Trump look like he was right instead of them.
Now, Stephen A., you're almost there, babe. You're almost there, babe. Is it possible that they're not making Donald Trump look right? Is it possible that he just is right? Something to think about. Something to think about. Guys, obviously, we had a whole show planned out for you guys today. But, we covered the breaking news over the course of the last several hours. Before I let you guys go today, for everybody who came into the show late, everybody came into the show late. I just once again, I want to thank the New York City Young Republicans last night for a phenomenal gala. As always, they do a great job. I'm on their board over there. Shout out to Gavin Wax and to Alana Marcus and Brett Morden and Alex Zeke and everybody, Stefano and Becky and everybody. You guys do an absolutely phenomenal job with the club. For any of you who are looking closely enough at this, who want to get more involved, find your local Republican chapter. For anybody who came in late, here was last night at the Young Republican Gala, where I was given the Nelson Rockefeller Award, something I didn't know was going to happen, but was pretty cool.
On behalf of the New York Young Republican Club, I am honored to present the Nelson A. Rockefeller Award to Kevin W. Smith.
Absolutely awesome night, as always. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Culture Wars, Will Johnson. Coming up next, make sure you guys keep it locked right in here. Once again, next week, this week, I will be in Arizona at Turning Point USA. I hope some of you are going to go there. If not, you guys can head on over to loudmajorityusa.com and use promo code LFA to get 20% off everything on the website, guys. Help support the Loud Majority and the movement we got growing out here. Guys, until tomorrow, everybody, stay loud.